Well, I decided to record my thoughts today. I had a kind of an epiphany last night. Um, I'm an American veteran. I just, within probably the last year, actually accepted that fact. I just kind of looked at it as something I did. Um, and it really didn't seem like anything big. And I've always been, since I separated, I've worked with military companies and things of that nature, so everybody had that camaraderie and that same mindset, so it just wasn't worth saying anything about. But in light of the kneeling protests, um, I jumped on the flag and took my position saying that the flag was something that was sacred. Um, and to me, that still is the fact. I believe that 90 seconds of basically celebrating the lives of people who have sacrificed their lives for a country that's only 200 years old is something we should respect. And I won't cave on that. However, I did take the flag out of the mix of thought and wanted to look at racial inequalities and why people are so up in arms about racial inequality because honestly, I never saw racial inequality. I've never seen any sort of racial inequality. And I got to thinking, I was raised in a middle class family outside of Seattle, and I had a full ride scholarship. Um, my parents were going to fund me to go to college, and I made a huge mistake. And my father said, "You got to get out of this house, and I'm not going to talk to you until you leave." And he didn't. He didn't talk to me for 5 years, and it was all over the fact that I disrespected them at a party in their house. I was a high school senior, wanted to gain popularity, and I sure as heck did. 5 kegs later, 500 people, and about $10,000 of damage to my dad's house. So I'm sitting at 18, wondering, okay, well, I'm not going to college now because I can't certainly afford it, and and because I couldn't afford it, I said, okay, well, what are my options? I can get a job and try to make it in Seattle on minimum wage. Well, that wasn't an option. Um, the math just didn't work, and so I did the next best thing. I joined the military. This was the time of Top Gun. I could go around the world and spread peace and goodwill and what's my safest, most uh, calculated method of getting there? Oh, we'll go in the Navy. Top Gun. Get to work around airplanes. I was a Boeing child. Um, so it all made sense. And little did I know that even though I failed my history class in high school, Mr. Forrest, props out to you, brother. Um, in Mr. Forrest's class, I failed. I slept through most of it, but I remembered his insatiable fixation on the Middle East. And I couldn't understand it at the time. I couldn't conceptualize it. I was sitting down and hated school because I'm a kinesthetic learner and now know sitting behind a desk is not my thing. Even though now I have a desk job, the irony of the whole thing. Um, but but 6 months after I failed his class on the Middle East, I was transiting the Hormuz Canal, or the Suez Canal, excuse me, and it all flashed back to me. The entire history class, completely and totally, everything flooded my mind. I was absolutely amazed. Anyways, getting back to the kneeling protests, um, I think that racial inequality is the incorrect statement for what they are trying to promote. I believe that it's just inequality. It's not a racial thing because if my parents were poor and they hadn't offered me an opportunity to go to college, in which I screwed up, um, I would not have been able to go to college. Um, in the case of my parents kicking me out of my house, I did not have the opportunity as an individual to go to college. It just wasn't in the cards. There's no way I could have gone to college. The financials were too large. I had no understanding without the help of my father on how to even get to college. Um, and the most I knew about college was the Huskies. Go Huskies. Um, I didn't even have a complete understanding of the collegiate world. Um, because I was a marginal student, doesn't mean I'm not smart. It just means that I didn't do well in school, didn't like school, didn't like sitting behind a desk, hated it actually. And because of that, I really didn't have a desire to continue on school because that just wasn't my thing. Um, so when you speak to equality and when you start looking at equality, it it really it really boils down to taking the monetary piece of healthcare and education out of the mix. By doing so, you create a more equal system, a system where the entire system where everybody is afforded the same thing, no matter whether you're affluent or whether you're poor. The institutions, the high schools and the colleges, then have to create a system that treats everybody the same, that doesn't necessarily know how to get to that particular place, or if they even need it. In my case, I did the military and I worked my ass off, and today I am an engineer, and I'm happy. The good Lord afforded me a lot of interesting situations that have brought me here, and so that's it. While I don't support the kneeling during the national anthem or the not showing up as the Seattle Seahawks did, um, I am looking at this racial inequality as an opportunity to understand what we're talking about. Because from this guy's eyes, there is no racial inequality from my eyes, because I wasn't raised that way. And I embrace everybody in the world no matter who they are. So I guess there's some understanding now about how and what they are thinking about, and I would just call it inequality. I just take the race right out of it. It has nothing to do with race, and how race got implanted in that message, I have no idea. But realistically, it is about inequality, and I can actually respect and understand that type of protest, trying to physically change and culturally change a system, a system not designed to make everybody successful, and leaving it to just your individual choices as to whether you become successful or not. So I guess I can get on board with that. So that's my topic for today. Appreciate you listening. Take care.